Hi, I'm Chris with Empowered Vote, and I want to show you some of the features that we've been working on. Now, if you'd like to follow along on your own, you can go to empowered.vote as we go through it. I like dark mode, and then come down here, scroll down, and we have 4 features that I probably won't get to all of them right now, but you can explore them all as we go through. The first is the essentials, and basically you would type in your address if you're one of our served alpha communities, or you can type in the address of a candidate if you want to look them up remotely. I'm in Los Angeles, so I'll click here, and it has a list of our mayor, city council, all the people there, and the county, the assessor, supervisors, LAUSD board. Then it gets into state officials, General Assembly, and these are all the people representing Los Angeles. And then it gets down into federal, who our leaders are kind of right now. So all of this just happens from pressing the representatives button, but we have an election that's 10 days away. And so for instance, for mayor, you can click and find more information on each of these people. And if you click on someone, you can get more information about that candidate. Their contact information. We found what their stances are on a lot of issues like abortion or climate change or whatnot. And then we've also found, when available, we provide campaign finance information to make it clear where the money's coming from. And if you were to type in, instead of, like if I were to go here instead, these are all the people at my address. So I don't get all of the districts. I don't get all of them. They're just limited to the people I'm looking at. And then if I click on elections here, it's just the people who I'm voting on. For instance, Tracy Park or Faiza Malik, and what that looks like. All right. So the next feature that I want to show you is the compass. Compass, you click here, and we'll start off calibrating our compass with a local lens. And what that means is these are the 8 topics that most local officials have answered, or we've had the best success at finding answers for. So we'll start off calibrating here. Now, the stances on a compass fall along a spectrum. For instance, this question: what role should the government play in making sure people can afford housing? At one end of that spectrum is to stay out completely, right? And at the far end of that, down here, is directly build and operate public housing. But there are steps in between, and it falls along a spectrum. And on these 8 topics, you just say what your stance is. You pick the stance that best fits your personal stance. We randomize the direction, so it's not always like, liberal at the top or conservative at the top or anything like that. That flips. And then if none of these feel like a fit for you, you can also write in your own. And then you just kind of, you can drag it in between to like wherever it would want to go or something like that. So you would go through and just answer these 8 questions. Probably takes five minutes or so. And then after that, your local compass would be calibrated. So I'll answer these just real quickly. And I'm just go through and give answers to questions on, civil rights or housing. And then as you go through, what happens is you develop this visualization of your compass. And so, for instance, on ICE, let's say I want to go beyond refusing all ICE detainers. I want to prosecute ICE officials who break our laws. Now, this is different than the way radar graphs are often used. They're often used to describe something very subjective. But there's an advantage in tracking these objective, because then we can tie evidence to each stance in a way that you can't really tell a politician how they feel about something. They're the mastery of that. But we can highlight how they act about it, or what their policy is in relationship to yours. So, come to. And then afterwards, your compass is ready to compare it against other people. So you can tap a spoke to invert it. That's just the presentation of how it's presented against other people. But Where it really starts to shine is if you can look at it beside, someone else. So I'm looking at my mayor right now, Karen Bass, and I want to see, we feel the same way about this topic. She is, I'm far away from her on a number of other issues, though. If I can see a lot of space between the two of us, that means that there might be a disconnect. If I go over here and I want to research more, this is, let's say on housing, what should the difference between that be? And I think we should use, she thinks we should use rent caps and require new developments to include affordable. Well, actually, that probably makes sense. And I think we should stay out of it entirely. But then I can go down here and understand a summary of her stance, but then also link out to other articles that help explain her stance and describe it to me. So at the end of the day, it's assessing whether or not, we got that right, but then also giving you a chance to explore that more. So the local lens is 8. A full calibration is just shy of 50. So it's a few more questions that you can answer, but we can also be very customized and bespoke around, what topics you are looking for. Maybe you don't care about these issues quite as much right now. And the nice thing about the compass is that once it's built, you can go back on essentials, and as you're exploring through, you can press this button up over here and just compare everyone very quickly. And that's especially beneficial in situations where maybe I don't know a lot of these people. Like I don't know many of these names, but I guess I align with this person based on their policy stances a lot more than I align with, this person over here. That's especially useful in situations. For instance, both of these people are Democrats. Our platform is anti-partisan, but just because you have a party associated with your name, it doesn't always indicate that your policy solutions align with your constituents. And so this is a more constituent focused approach that once it's calibrated and set up, you can go through and see how you align with a bunch of people very quickly, putting the voter at the heart of it. And the last I'll show is Treasury Tracker. It helps you find how your budget is working. So this is what the budget was for Los Angeles. This is all public information. And then here's how that money goes out in kind of a graph representation. The thinking being that many people don't really enjoy reading Excel spreadsheets and kind of sorting through to understand how our finances are going. And presenting it to voters in a way that's more digestible allows them to be a lot more central to the process and mindful as they're voting, instead of passing off that ability to others. And you can go and explore pretty deep, like if sewer construction maintenance, and then it goes into, where that's at. This is different per municipality, per city, based on what they provide, but you can explore, how much we're spending in salaries for the Parks and Recreation Department is, 58 million. The senior recreation directors, what they're getting for that. So there's quite a bit of information as far as transparency around finances, and then that probably leads me to this last bit right here, where these are our finances. Over the past, couple of years, Empowered Vote has been a nonprofit, and we are very transparent about where we send our money. So if you're in a spot where you can help make this number go higher, you can do that right up here and donate if you like. That's it. Hope some of these tools will help. We're hard at work on making quite a few more as we go through. We have Civic Trivia Championships over here, which you can explore, and others that are coming down the line, both more social in nature and to empower civic leaders as well. But thanks for taking a look, and I'll talk to you later.